Destroy them all! Speed up! Speed up! Multiple. Missile. Destroy the mouth! Multiple. Laser. Destroy the eye. Force field. Force field. Destroy the mouth. Laser. Destroy the eye. Force field. Destroy the chest. Force field. Destroy the mouth. Speed up. Speed up. Speed up. Missile. Multiple. Speed up. Speed up. Multiple. Speed up. Missile. Multiple. multiple,